Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Spirits and Ghost Stories. I'm your host, Thomas Aarons.
And I'm Carly Bird.
Week 50. We were like a beautiful bird that took off last year, and we were soaring high. We made it through so many rainstorms and hailstorms and soared
Ups and downs.
Through September and October, no problem.
Highs and lows.
November was easy. Christmas was actually very easy, believe it or not. I thought that would be the hardest time. It was very easy to find stories for that.
I was worried about Christmas,
But then January and February was, I thought, the hard part, and we weathered that. But then June and July came, and we just crashed and burned. It was so funny.
Funny story. We're more active in the summertime.
I thought the closer we got to like a year anniversary, it'd be easier because the finish line's right there. The fact that was the hardest part for us was insane. I never would have guessed. I thought it would have been the Christmas time, January, February-ish. That would have been the hardest time.
Right.
We put out some of our banging stuff.
It's because there was nothing to do.
Yeah.
It was because it's cold outside. We didn't want to go anywhere.
Yep.
And it was easy to just go to our basements and read scary stories to each other and drink alcohol and get wasted. It was fun.
It was really our
And
American
now
dream.
during the summertime, it's like, I want to be outside. And Thomas, it takes everything in him to rein me in and be like, but Carly, remember we have to record Spirits and Ghost Stories. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Let's pick like a rainy day. Well, it hasn't rained in like 2 weeks. So that's been a problem.
It really has been a problem. And then we had a lot of different things actually going on in our lives right now. And we were actually talking about doing a date night, and it's like, that was like a mind blow. I remember I asked her, like, she said, like, what if we just let's walk the dog, we'll order some food.
And we'll pick it up and we eat it at home. And then Tommy's like, wait a minute, what if we ate it there? And I like looked at him and I was like, you mean you want to eat at the restaurant?
Like a date? Like a date? And I just blew her goddamn mind.
I know. My mind is blown, and now I'm like, all I'm thinking about is like, oh, okay. I'll actually do my hair. I'll wear something nice.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and we're gonna do sushi, but like, instead of doing our favorite sushi place, depending, is there a fancier sushi place we could go to?
Oh, I don't know. We'd have to put some research into that.
Yeah, I have no idea.
You know where we are, so
we live in this place called.
No, let's not even go there. We live in this place called the Shit Show. I wasn't going to talk about this, but now you're making me want to talk about this.
Talk about
my morning, I was just so aggravated and thinking about how I cannot wait to move away from here, just because I grew up here in this town, and I was just getting flashbacks of like why I was such an asshole, why I am not a peaceful driver, and why I was bitchy towards any stranger that I've seen until I moved to his lovely neck of the woods in Loudoun County, aka Eagleton. Then I moved there and it was like, whoa, what is this beautiful place? Anyway, where I grew up, if you get out of your car, you can just guarantee on being catcalled. I was catcalled twice this morning at each place I went to. And then on my way home, I was almost rear-ended. And because I was going the speed limit, the person gave me the bird for about 10 minutes. And anytime I looked in my rearview mirror, there was the bird. And I just like, oh, I'm sorry. My bad. Like, GTFO.
Well, the big issue with Loudoun County right now is they're actually charging a tax now. It's $1 for every plastic bag you use.
I'll pay it.
Okay. Well,
Let's go.
I was trying to balance it out. Like, but we do charge for plastic bags.
Yeah,
now.
well, you know what? I never got catcalled in Loudoun County, so.
I mean, is that a problem?
Yes. When I literally have to fear for my life when I walk into a gas station because this guy that looks like he just climbed out of a hole in the ground tells me that I'm beautiful and tries to like grope at me. Yeah, that's a problem.
Okay, that's a little different.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like it's nice to get compliments.
It's horrifying.
Well, I am not a female, and I don't try to say like I don't live your life. Hashtag me too. I know your struggles, but I don't.
He doesn't.
Carly, what are we drinking tonight?
Tonight we are drinking. Why did you spur this on me? I had to write it down because I couldn't remember the name of it. And then I'm going to read it off to you and y'all are going to be like, you can't remember. Oh, okay. So it's called the Tequila Sunset. Basically, it's tequila, orange juice, blackberry brandy, and a cherry. And the reason that we went with this is because this kid just finished his final final exam literally this afternoon and is officially graduated with his master's in business administration. Woot woot. So I picked up some Hornitos for him, and not gonna lie, I opened the bottle because I was super excited about Hornitos. And then on top of it, all morning long, I was at the barn and I was just craving big time some mimosas. And I was like, you know what? Let's just add some orange juice in the mix. And then I was like, what kind of orange juice tequila drink could we make? And I found the tequila sunset. So I went ahead and picked up the blackberry brandy as well. And we've got a cherry in our mug. You can't see it, but it's good. I like it.
You know who else liked mimosas?
Who?
Bob's Burgers.
Linda.
They had an episode about that. About bottomless mimosas. You're like, Lynn, how much?
Type a comment in.
How much champagne did you add to the mimosas? Not that much, but you're going to get your fair share. It's like she gave everyone like basically all alcohol and a little bit of orange juice. The guy's like, thank you for that, by the way.
So you're talking about a TV show. Just for
anyway.
anyone that doesn't know, Bob's Burgers is one of our favorite TV shows. They just came out with a movie
That was really good.
that was released in theaters a couple months ago, and we went to see that in person, and that was super duper fun. And we rewatch it all the time. I think we bought it too. We bought the movie.
Fun fact, that was the newest animated movie in theaters since The Simpsons movie in 2008. It's been that long since a cartoon version of something with that kind of animation was actually put out there.
I didn't know that.
Fact. Yeah,
Okay.
fun little fact.
Okay.
But it actually looks really good because they're also using digital animators too to overlay, so it's not just like writing on papers. They actually like digitally write it. But I thought it looked really like you could tell that the budget was better. Oh, and they also made like a little like a YouTube short version of that. So it was like I think it was like a prelude to the movie, but what they did is they chopped it up and put that on Hulu. Remember that little short of like them doing a dance thing with Teddy underneath?
Yes.
That was supposed to be part of the movie. Instead, they cut it and made it a little short. And I was like, that was even good too. Because you could tell like the quality was like really
That's
good.
cute. Yeah.
But that was fun too. Anyway, guys,
So
are we ready for today's tale?
I think we're ready. So today, Tom's going to be reading the story for us. And plot twist, I have the scary story of the news. So prepare yourselves.
I'm pretty excited about this. So, are you ready to get back into the spooky stuff?
Yes, so ready. It's been cooler outside.
Mm.
It's been in like the 50s at night. And then during the day, it gets all the way up to like the 70s or 80s. But each evening, it's like gets crispy. And it's just like, oh, fall is coming. I've brought out my plaids.
The big thing here, will we have an Indian summer, or we have an early winter chill, or will the fall come early, or we're gonna have a late summer?
I have a feeling the fall is coming early.
I think it's gonna come.
I can
early,
feel
too.
it in the air.
But with that said, let's get into today's tale as we get back into the spookiness of life. Time now for the tale of Brother's Keeper.
Mm.
I was a rookie cop when my brother committed suicide. He was one of my older siblings, but we were very close. He died in another state, and I had a lot of guilt then about not recognizing the signs. His remains were in bad shape by the time he was discovered, so it was closed coffin service. About a week after he died, I was back at work one night, and my partner and I see a pimp pistol whipping one of his girls. Okay, so
Whoa!
It's a pimp. So a pimp is somebody, if I understand Hagerstown like logic, it's an individual who has a flock of women under him. He usually wears like a feather in his hat and a purple jacket, right? And a big chain, or is this really more like the 70s?
Is this the 70s?
I jumped out and the pimp sees me, and the foot chase was on. I was running after him, gun in hand, and he cuts through a narrow corridor under a building that leads to a country yard in the middle. Right before I reached the country yard, I hear, "It's okay," in my dead brother's voice. I hit the country yard, and the guy is against the side pointing a gun at my head. Then he squeezed the trigger twice. I froze for a millisecond and then started beating him in the head with my revolver. Till this day, I don't know why I didn't just shoot him. I cuff him and walk him back to the street and find my partner. I tell my partner about him squeezing the trigger, but not the voice I heard. We unloaded the gun, a .32 revolver, right there, and 2 bullets have strike marks on the chamber. I take the gun to the lab for testing. Tell the tech the story. He puts the 2 bullets with strike marks back in and shoots them in the testing range. Both bullets fire without an issue. To this day, I have no idea what happened, but I keep reminding myself, was I dreaming of that? Was that actually my brother's voice in the back of my head? I know I was grieving a lot since the incident, not knowing what was going through his mind, but it was the weirdest feeling that just before I turned that corner, just to hear his voice again. Maybe he was actually watching out for me this whole time. And that was the tale of my brother's keeper.
That was so short.
Mm-hmm.
That story was incredibly short.
It was really short. Short and sweet to the point.
Yeah. Wow.
I am really like the fact that actually happened, or if it did happen, like this gets to the whole thing about the supernatural though too. Like the strike marks though are really interesting. Like I like that little tidbit of the story. Like the gun did go off, click, click, but nothing happened.
Mm-hmm.
And then you actually have to go there and actually test it to see what happened there. And the part I really liked about it was like him hearing the voices too, just before it happens, and then him blacking out, which I like the detail about him blacking out because it does kind of leave it up to interpretation. Like, did this actually happen?
Was it
he
a
just
dream?
stressed? Was it grief?
Was he having like a panic attack or like something like that where he kind of like was delirious for a minute?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the thing too, is like it really, really goes back to like Haunted on Hill House season 1, where it talks about grief. And it's like that fine line of blur between the supernatural and actually grief itself. And then when does reality end? But I don't know. That was a really good story. And that leads us into our second story of the evening. Time now for the tale of the Spirit Party. I was born and raised in the States, but my mother is Irish, and her father's, my grandpappy, family owned a large farm outside a small village in the SE of Ireland. Sorry, I'm trying to get all my Ireland accent. I would say the farmhouse now is probably 200 years old, but I don't have exact dates. All I know is it's so infamously haunted that it has its own folklore surrounding it down in the village. They say that the house was built on an axe coming out from the parish church, which acts as a roadway for the spirits. So basically our home blocks them from continuing on, and the ghost gets stuck there. They also say that when the house was being built, an old man that nobody recognized appeared 3 days in a row, warning that if they didn't stop building this house, someone would die. The next day I set off a Scotsfold collapsed and the 3 workers were killed. The house fell down. Basically, I just can't read good. Anyway, pretty much anyone who has strayed overnight in the house has had weird experiences. Anything from an unconsciousness where they pass out. My cousins, for instance, living there now, have had their keys moved, just over skewed, or things knocked over in the middle of the night, to the more intense, which I'll get into in a minute. So my mom spent all her summers growing in the house. At the time, only my great uncle lived there. She liked to go into the formal parlor to read during her visits, since it was quite quiet because it was literally never used. She said that occasionally she would go into the parlor, only to find all the heavy dining room furniture moved around. You could even see the indentations in the carpet from where it had been before.
Oh, wow.
One night, she also was lying in bed in her room, which was one of the second floors at the end of the long hallway. She had just gotten into bed, so I can fucking read. Jesus Christ, my God. I think it's the tequila. I need to have some more then, because that'll make the eyes work better.
Ew.
Into bed. So she was wide awake when suddenly every hair on her body stood on end, and she had the sensation like everything in the room was getting bigger. Then, out of nowhere, she heard footsteps starting from her bedroom door. She sprinted down the hall and down the stairs. Keep in mind, the only other person in the house was my great uncle, who was well into his 70s at the time and not really in sprinting shape. In fact, the next morning, he even said to her, "Why did you run down the stairs last night?"
Oh no.
She said that wasn't her, and she guessed then it wasn't him. To which he simply replied, "Right, I guess we had a visit from our little friends last night."
Ew! Who were the little friends?
Living there full time, my uncle had tons of weird shit happen to him. The creepiest being this. One night around Christmas time, he was walking home from Mass in the village. Now, when they're walking out of the village, our house is set up on a hill in plain view of the road. He noticed that every single light is on. Great, he thinks. Someone must have come for a holiday visit. So he struts up the
and they're
lane.
in his house?
So the lights were on,
that's not great.
but apparently nobody was home. So he struts up the lane, all excited to see who was there, except when he turned the corner to get into the yard behind the house, there are no cars. No cars at all. Odd, but not inexplicable. You know, small Irish town, not everybody has a car. You know, you walk around. He checks the milk can that has the spare key. It's still there. At this point, he can still see that all the lights are on in the house, and he can hear music playing, but there wasn't a soul in sight. Now, my uncle was not a foolish man, and he was not about to ruin their spirited party. So he sat himself down in the barn across the yard and waited and waited and waited for it to settle down. Finally, all of a sudden, everything, all the lights and music, just off. And then he just went in and went to bed.
What?
Let's just say, when I heard this tale from here, I was pretty surprised at the reaction of this old man. And
So he
that
let the
was
ghosts-
the tale of the spirit party.
I'm sorry. He let the ghosts have their fun.
I just love the fact that it's his effing house.
I know. And he's just like, well, I guess I'll just go to the bar.
And just sit there and watch.
I'll just watch the ghosts have fun in my house. And then they go to bed. And then he's like, all right, I guess they're giving the house back.
I just like
can
that.
go to
That's
bed
all right.
now.
Yeah, I'm just gonna leave. You guys have the house. That's fine. I'm just gonna wait for it to like shut down, and then I'll come back. No, but that's like I did like lights on, nobody's home. That's creepy. Music playing, that would freak me out a little bit more.
Yeah.
Music playing, yeah. I don't know. Would you have gone into the house?
No. I would probably call the cops.
You probably
Or like somebody's in my house. And then I would let them go in. And then they could either die by the ghost or come out and be like, there's nobody here. And then I'll be like, okay, well, maybe the spooky stuff's gone away. And then I could go to sleep.
So what story did you like the most?
The second.
I like the first.
Why?
I just like that there's a little bit more evidence based. There's a little bit of that like the idea that the gun goes off twice, but nothing happens. But then you shoot the bullets and like it works. Like that's creepy. Because that feels also like that idea that he tested it too, and then like took the bullets back and it shot. It's like, oh shit. Like
I don't know. That house is definitely haunted.
Oh yeah, like but there.
And it was never like
haunted.
the same ghost or the same things happening over and over again. It was always something different.
There's something about that like old houses too. And then Carly knows about this more because she went to London or Great Britain, across the
I
pond,
did. Yeah.
and where they have a lot of buildings that are like old
Oh
as
my
shit.
gosh, hundreds and hundreds.
And so you think about like how many people have lived there and died there and like have lived full lives.
Yeah.
And it's just like so creepy to think because like where we live, there's not a lot of houses that are that old. And the ones that are old,
No, the ones that are old are like not functioning anymore.
Yeah, they're like
and are
20
pretty much like, oh, well, you might as well just demolish them
they're
and
like
start
20,
over.
30 years old, if that.
No, like 100 years old.
Okay, 100.
Something they built in like 1920s.
But England is like what, 2,000 years old?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So even
You
our
had
oldest house here is like
the London
insane.
and the buildings are like hundreds of years old.
Yeah, it's not. The
And they're all functioning and they have a like restaurants and hotels and all kinds of stuff, and you could just like see all the gorgeous architecture from the outside, and then it's pretty much kept on the inside too. It's just awesome.
Which is insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, those were the two tales for today. And so now we're going to get into scary stuff in the news.
Brought by your
Carly
one and only
Bird.
Carly Bird. Alrighty, guys. So this story was brought to us on the 26th of May, 2022. Terrified Scott's mom says ghost is haunting home after daughter sees monster in the bedroom.
What?
The young mum from Glasgow claims a spirit played with her kids' toys while they were sound asleep. Her taps been turned on, bangs in the night, and her baby gate creaking. All right. And then it shows like a fuzzy picture of her and her 2 children. And it says, a terrified Scots mom convinced a ghost is haunting her family home is considering moving after her daughter spotted, quote, monsters, end quote, in her bedroom. The 27-year-old has thought about asking a priest or psychic medium for help as the problem has escalated so much in the recent months, friends won't even spend the night. The young mum from Glasgow claims a spirit played with her kid's toy while they were sound asleep as she regularly hears the taps being turned on, bangs in the night and her baby gate creaking. She also believes she saw a ghostly shadow in the house. Her 3-year-old daughter has been suffering from terrible nightmares after seeing monsters in her bedroom. As reported in Glasgow Live, the Pollock mom, who asked not to be identified to protect her children, says she's now considering moving home. She said, it's always when my oldest is home and in bed. It's been happening a few months now. Different things happen each time. It started happening a few months back with the tap in the kitchen turning on or the fridge door opening or hearing things at night. I heard the creak from the baby gate a few times but looked at the monitor and the wee one was still sleeping. My ex-partner was in the house at the time it happened, and I jumped out of bed to see my wee girl because I heard the gate, but she was sound asleep in her room.
What would you do in situations like this? So example is multiple ghost movies, just name it, about house haunted, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Amityville's a great one where it's like, and I'm thinking more financial here. Like if you finally buy a house and you got everything sunk in it, but it's like haunted, how much you put up with? Which was really, guys, if you go back, link will be in the episode description to like Amityville. One reason the guy didn't want to leave is like he sunk a shit ton of money into the house.
Right. There's nowhere else to go.
I get that, but the stuff that eventually happened in Amityville was like, yeah, I would have.
Sometimes, would you rather be homeless or living with ghosts? I mean, that's pretty much what they had to like
When
face.
your daughter says Jody's coming to play, and then you stare and you see a demon pig in the window, at that point, I feel like we're homeless.
Yeah, you get out.
I think like
you find a place to stay.
Yeah, I mean when
the church can house you for the
when the priest won't show up anymore because
That's
the
true.
priest was told he's going to die.
That's true.
Or the flies, I meant like day 1, you're right. You're getting closer to day 20. I'm tapping out. Like I think at that point nobody's going to be faulting you for
Right.
like banging out.
You're right.
But
it goes on. It goes on.
oh shit, it does.
Yeah, she says another time I walked past my living room to go to the kitchen at night and saw a shadow
Oh, that's a
at the
scary
corner
face actually.
of my eye going into my bedroom. Then things started happening. I would hear noises on the baby monitor and keep looking at it, but my daughter wasn't moving at all, and you could hear movement in her room. It gives me the fear. The most recent thing which happened was the wee one's toy being played with. It doesn't take batteries. And then they show a picture of the little toy. If you want to scroll down a little bit, it's like it looks like a little car or something, like a little Weeble car,
This one here?
airplane thing. Yeah. It's a very loud toy. I heard it in the hallway being moved about, and my daughter was in her bed. I have my 6-month-old and my 3-year-old, who I still have a baby monitor for. They were both nowhere near the toy at the time. I'm constantly watching the monitor when these things have happened. The wee one has started to have nightmares. She was at her father's last night, and he messaged to say she had another nightmare. I never speak about ghosts or monsters to my little girl because, in all honesty, it creeps me out, obviously. I haven't gotten any footage of it. Anytime something happened, I would grab my oldest and bring her into bed with me. When she came into my bed a few weeks back, she was staring at the corner of my room and pointing to say, "The monster is sleeping."
That's freaking creepy. Holy
I freaked
shit.
out. I had to ask her again what she said because it didn't make sense, and she never said anything like it before. She added, "My friend won't come to stay with me anymore because of all of this."
It's like the fucking Jody thing.
I've messaged her at night when things have been happening. I'm always in my bed early for a nursery run in the morning, so we have been awake pretty late the last few nights. Well, because of all this happening. I want to move because of these things happening. My dad's not very happy with it. He thinks there's too much negativity in the house. The care worker said she had considered speaking to a psychic, medium, or priest for guidance. She said, if it'll stop things from happening, then yeah. I'm not really a spiritual person. I mean, I believe there are spirits, ghosts, or whatever you want to call them, but I've never been freaked out by one before. I think a medium could help me if there were spirits or ghosts in the house. A priest might just bless my house and ask it to leave. And I'm not sure if mediums would come out of the house, but I'll happily pay for it.
I don't know, guys. I don't know. That's a huge order. I don't know if I can say it that long.
I know, terrifying. And the worst part is that her daughter points to the corner of the room and says the monster's sleeping.
Why is it little kids are so terrifying?
That's the most terrifying part of the story. When I read that, I was like, this is gold.
Yeah, well, why are little kids so terrifying?
Yeah, this literally just happened in May.
So, guys, the moral of the story today is be good to your siblings so if they die before you, they protect you. And also, little kids are just scary creatures.
Yeah, they can sense demons.
Amen. And we'll see you next time on Spirits and Ghost Stories.
Thanks
Later,
for
guys.
tuning in.
Bye.